Hi guys and welcome to my channel. What do I have to say about this album? Let's find out. So today I'm going to talk about the Burzum debut album. The version that you see here also includes the EP Aske, which was released later on, but the original pressing was released in March of 1992. It was recorded during midwinter of 1992, and together with Darktron's A Blaze in the Northern Sky, which was released in February of 1992, it was one of the early Norwegian black metal releases, which were most influential for the whole black metal scene in Norway and in the whole world. Varg Vikernes recorded all the instruments on this album himself, with the exception of the guitar solo that Euronymous recorded for the War track, and the gong that also Euronymous played on the Dungeons of Darkness track, an instrumental track. All in all, this album includes 5 metal tracks and 3 instrumental tracks, or I would describe them as dungeon synth or dark ambient tracks. And yeah, for me, it's a very good album, and it's widely regarded as one of the classical black metal albums from the early Norwegian black metal scene. In total, it only took Varg 17 to 23 hours to record, mix, and master the album. And he recorded all the early Burzum albums in a relatively short period of time during the years 1992 and 1993. He was not only, or he was not a typical metalhead or metal guy. He liked, of course, some heavy metal bands. He said in one of his earlier videos, when he still was on YouTube, that he sometimes only liked certain albums or certain tracks of a particular band. Some examples of music that he liked, metal music that he liked, was, for example, Iron Maiden, early Creator, early Destruction, Battery, of course, the Swedish first wave black metal band, and for example also the Dutch death metal band Pestilence. But he was also influenced by non-metal music, like for example so-called white label underground techno music, and also different kinds of music, like for example The Cure, Jean-Michel Jarre. What else? I think he mentioned Das Ich, or yeah, those are some non-metal influences that he had. But he was not only influenced by music, but he was also in his youth an RPG fan, a role-playing game geek. And you can also see this when you take a look at the album cover. You see here a lone wanderer in a forgotten realm, and the cover art is taken from a Dungeons and Dragons module called the Temple of Elemental Evil. So you see that he was heavily influenced also by role-playing games. All in all, I would describe this album as a very rough sounding album. So it's much more rough when you compare it to the other Burzum albums, which came later on, especially the third and the fourth album, Huisli Setaros and Philosophem. And he wanted to play the music in a way as like a revolt against the trendy death metal bands which were popular or which were beginning to be popular during that time. They had a very streamlined and polished sound, and he wanted to make a revolt against that, also in a musical sense, with a rough and raw sound, and also, make mistakes in the music. If a mistake happens, it only makes the music feel more natural and not as polished as the death metal bands. They all wanted to have like a particular sound. They went to the same studios, took the same or used the same brands of instruments, and he was like the total opposite of that. When you talk about the Burzum albums, you of course have to mention also the vocal performance. The vocals sound very tortured and are like, I would describe them as shrieking vocals. Some people, heavy metal listeners or black metal listeners, even maybe put off by them because they sound very rough if you're not used to this kind of vocal performance. But for me, for example, I like them very much, and in my opinion, they suit the music perfectly. One other thing that Wag was influenced by was, of course, Tolkien and the world that he created, because Wag felt that, like in the in the real world that he grew up in, like in the 1980s and early 1990s, it lacked magic. It lacked supernatural or something beyond the normal reality. And that's why he wanted to create magic himself. So he didn't intend to do live shows with Burzum, and it was a solo project. I think he flirted with the idea of doing live shows for a very short period of time, but then he disregarded it, and he wanted to use Burzum and the music as a tool to create magic, to put the listener in a trance like state. And ideally, you should listen to the music before you go to sleep. And when you sleep, um, create like an alternative reality, maybe from the pagan past, and create an alternative reality for yourself. You can, maybe it was also like escapism from the real world that he regarded as boring and lacking magic. He was also influenced when he was a kid or also a teenager, when he played in the forest, with fought with other kids, with wooden swords, and make play fights. And he was also, I think he mentioned in his blog years ago, also near a very old monastery and near a ancient pagan site. And those are things that also influenced him. And in my opinion, you can also, of course, hear it in the music. So, yeah, in total, like I mentioned, you have 5 metal tracks. Those are Feeble Screams from Forests Unknown, Ear, Lord of the Depths, Spell of Destruction, War, and My Journey to the Stars. And 3 instrumental tracks, those are called Channeling the Power of Souls into a New God, The Crying Orc, and Dungeons of Darkness. Like I mentioned, the version I got also includes the Aske EP, which was released 1 year later in 1993, I think. And it has 3 tracks, Stemmen fra Tarnat, that's Norwegian, and it translates, I think, as The Voice from the Tower, Dominus Satanas, which is a instrumental, and A Lost Forgotten Sad Spirit. You could also describe this figure as this lost forgotten sad spirit. So all in all, I like this album very much. It's widely regarded, as I mentioned, as one of the classical black metal albums, especially from the famous Norwegian scene, of course. If you want to get into black metal, in my opinion, this is one of the must-have albums. I can definitely recommend it. So check it out. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. Maybe you will be put off by the vocal performance or the very raw and rough sound, but maybe you're also like me and like it very much. Yeah, I can definitely recommend this album. More videos coming soon. See you soon. Like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and see you soon. Thanks for watching.